so let's read a little bit from Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is part of the series, The True Meaning of Bhagavatam. Okay. So this is based on the wonderful verse in Bhagavad Gita as it is, Bhagavad Gita 10:10, to those who worship me with loving ecstasy. And so it says love in the verse, which can be a little nebulous. And then you go into the word for word, it says loving ecstasy. So that's more clear. See, loving ecstasy means it's transcendental and it's a spiritual vibration, that platform of worship. To those who worship me with loving ecstasy, I give them the understanding to come to me. So if you've worshiping the Lord with loving ecstasy, you've surpassed the Putana witch obstacle. Otherwise, loving ecstasy, especially in the context of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, is the Vrindavan ecstasy, that bhav, kind of. And most people are just speculating on it. And proof is Rupa Goswami says that pure devotional service, pure devotional service, and that pure devotional service is the service of Vrindavan. That's it there. Okay? So that pure devotional service, unalloyed devotional service, is very rarely achieved. Okay? But if somehow or other the symptoms are seen here in this world, then it's achievable. And that's why, another reason why the devotees are usually sent here to start this prema distribution, because without achieving that in a previous life, to achieve it in this life, you have to go the normal course of way. You get it from a bona fide guru. See, then you also very easily achieve it. Otherwise, to achieve it on your own strength, your own sadhana, your own austerities is highly impractical. Very rarely does this happen. See, following along in the Bhagavatam verse, along the lines of that, as well as Chaitanya Mangal verse in chapter 4, where Lord Chaitanya quoted the verse and said that Krishna is not attained by austerities and by renunciation, by sadhana and by pious activities. Okay? He's attained only by unalloyed devotional service. So people, see, they're trying to generally rise up through the ranks to an unalloyed devotee. See, but the Lord says, and how are they doing that? What is their method? What is usually taught? Renunciation, austerity, fasting, okay? Sadhana bhakti. Okay? And that is taught in the beginning because most persons that are only qualified for that, most persons are less intelligent. Actually, Vaidhi Bhakti is for the less intelligent persons who don't worship the Lord in loving ecstasy. Because if you worship the Lord in loving ecstasy, like Bhagavad Gita 10:10 shows, okay, then you'll have the right understanding. See, transcendental knowledge, right understanding. See, real understanding of Siddhanta is synonymous. Okay? Less intelligence are you're still trying to figure it out, or you're trying to work up to it. So that's why these devotees have to be sent to start things. Especially for 500 years, this kind of prema has not been publicly distributed like it was with Lord Chaitanya, or with the Goswamis who wrote the books, and then the preachers, Narottam, Shamananda, and Srinivas. See, they were qualified preachers. See, they could transmit the transcendental sound. And so the book Bhagavat was the Goswamis. See, the book Bhagavat, they wrote the books. See, and it took a qualified preacher, see, to distribute these books. That's why another angle to look at this is why in chapter 1, verse 98 through 100 of Chaitanya Charitamrita on the spiritual masters, it's by the action of the book Bhagavat. See, book Bhagavat is written by transcendental personalities. It's considered the word of God, see, because it comes through the by medium liberated souls. Right? So, and the devotee Bhagavan, who is a living person who transmits the living sound, conclusive truth, and their quality is they're absorbed in the mellows of devotion. They chant Hare Krishna in ecstasy. They chant the names sometimes, and the pastimes and the qualities. Sometimes they cry, sometimes they laugh, and stuff like this. See, overcome the Putana obstacle. If you hear from anyone else, you're going to be more or less unclear. Okay? If you hear from a person still in the modes of nature, say like you find a guru in the mode of passion and ignorance, okay? Then they will teach you according to their level of consciousness, right? It's common sense. There's a lot of those here. You go there and they're running around right now and go, they're coming here because this is tourist season time to go to work, okay? Professional beggars in the class of sannyasi, passion and ignorance, right? Person in the mode of goodness wouldn't do it more or less, they maybe do it in a little more sly way, more polished way. Okay? See, so all of these, if you're teaching Bhagavatam in the mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, you're going to be more or less unclear. See? So depending on what mode you're seeing from. See? So devotees don't know this. A lot of them are worshiping devotees in the that are actually Brahmins by qualification or liberation level by qualification, but in the dress, they're dressed as liberated souls, as gurus, as spiritual masters. See? But they can't really liberate you until they're Shuddha Bhaktas, until they're these unalloyed devotees. See? So most of the world at this time is still not clear the difference between a Brahmin in the mode of goodness, a liberated person in the in Brahmin level realization, and the actual Bhagavan level of realization. The world most cannot distinguish this, and you must make this distinguishing to enable to sort out, oh, I see, this is a Brahmin by qualification and by characteristics and by symptoms, even though they have the dress of a liberated soul, like a sannyasi. So a sannyasi that is it's not necessarily that sannyasi is liberated, but if you're a sannyasi and you're taking disciples and they're, oh, Gurudev, I love you, you're going to deliver me, I just depend on you fully and all that, but you're just a Brahmin in the dress of a liberated devotee with disciples who are depending to be liberated on you. Well, you're not clear, and they're not so clear. You're not really clear on your devotional position. See? Even if you're on the level of Brahman consciousness, but you're dressed as a Vaishnava, and you have disciples, and you teach, become a selfless servant, or all these other ideas about austerities and renunciation, everything, that's still unclarity there. That's not it. Okay? You need to meet a real associate of Lord Chaitanya who will tell you what he told the world, as it is. See? Lord Chaitanya quoted a verse from Bhagavatam. He said, not by austerities, not by, you don't attain Krishna by austerities, by renunciation, by pious deeds, or even by sadhana. Okay? You're attained by unalloyed devotion, do you attain Krishna, and that is very rare. See, whoever can say that and has realized that verse will teach according to that level. See, that's Shuddha Bhakti teaching. See? You can't say, well, I'm teaching Shuddha Bhakti and I'm teaching about Raganuga Bhakti and spontaneous devotion. You have to be a liberated devotee. Okay? Otherwise, you will slant everything according to your level of consciousness. Okay? So who's an example of this? Devananda Pandit. There is a little Putana in Devananda Pandit, which is not surprising. It's very rare to have such a high position of Shuddha Bhakta. Okay? So here's Devananda, here's the Putana in Devananda Pandit. I haven't even got to the verse yet. Anyway, here's the Putana in the Devananda Pandit. Okay? So the Putana in him he was teaching about Krishna. Okay? He had disciples who were worshiping him. He was a teacher, teaching them Bhagavatam. Okay? So Lord Chaitanya called him out. The whole world basically saw him except the pure devotees they could see. The whole world saw Devananda Pandit in our example of Chaitanya Bhagavat. The whole world saw him as a liberated soul. And Lord Chaitanya called him out by telling the truth. Remember Jesus said the truth will set you free? Well, that's always the truth. The truth will set people free because people do not know their devotional position until they are self-realized or they get the mercy of a self-realized soul so that they hit the real platform of Majjamadikari. See? Majjamadikari, the true one, is not, oh, you're Majjamadikari, let's wrap the thread around your head and let's put the banana in the fire and give you Diksha. Now you're Majjamadikari. That's not the real Majjamadikari. That's Majjamadikari still in name only. See? Real Majjamadikari is when you get Bhakti Lata Bij. See? And you get taste from the bona fide guru because of your submissiveness and surrender to their teaching. And you put it above all other teachings unless it's from a Shuddha Bhakta, which is pretty rare. So you might as well just stick with their teaching because they're 1 out of 1 million or 1.5 million or even 1 billion devotees usually. Okay? So you get this Bhakti Lata Bij when Krishna sees, oh, you're surrendered and submissive to my real devotees. Okay, boom, the seed of bhakti goes in. Now all of a sudden, it's exactly what you see happening in our Sangha. Our Sangha is representing the book Bhagavat. Because you could read about Bhakti Lata Bij in the teachings of Lord in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Madhya Lila. And it talks about Bhakti Lata Bij. You'll see those symptoms in our followers here. Okay? They not in everybody, but in most, actually, most. Okay? Most have taste that come here seriously. If you don't come here regularly and seriously, you probably don't have it because you're not interested. But those who get Bhakti Lata Bij, they get the taste for chanting Krishna's name and for sadhu sangha, and you like to be around devotees who chant with this taste, this ecstatic feelings, okay? Ecstatic tears, ecstatic, all kinds of choking of the voice, all kinds of revelations come when you're worshiping the Lord in ecstatic love. They are the only ones who get really clear realizations. So Bhakti Lata Bij. So if you get Bhakti Lata Bij, now the Lord is the benefactor of the truthful devotee. So you're a truthful man. That means the Lord is trusting you now. So you get Bhakti Lata Bij, and now you chant the holy names and you get taste. Tears sometimes come to your eyes. Sometimes you laugh like a madman. Sometimes choking a voice. And it just gets... it may start out with some tears and these other symptoms come a little bit later. So you just keep chanting with taste and the tears and putting out the fire of material existence, and then more bliss, more realization comes, more symptoms of bhakti come. See, that I see in our Sangha, this path. Okay? This is what they call a true vine or branch of the Chaitanya tree. Proven, not just, oh yeah, I'm a bona fide guru. You see my stamp from ISKCON or Gaudiya Samiti. We all sat around and agreed this guy's guru because he followed the program, or he's been initiated by Prabhupada or Narayan Raj or Govinda Maharaj or Sridhar. Oh, he's very respectable. Yeah, but does he have the symptoms of being a real guru who can liberate his disciples? Okay. And that means the standard you have to fit in the book. And only the real guru knows the standard, or is clear enough to look at it, because most are speculating. They look at the book and they say, oh, I can be guru because I'm in line here this way, and my guru will deliver you. I'm not quite qualified, but please, you got to worship me because the scriptures say you must have a guru to worship, and I'll stand in as that, but somebody else will deliver you in the future. Or I will deliver you. I think I'm actually qualified because I followed the morning program perfectly, and I've chanted my 16 rounds or my 1 lakh, and I shave every. I don't shave every Ekadasi or Chaturmas, and I do everything just perfectly by the book. Therefore, I can be your guru. See, that also is not in the book, in Prabhupada's books. The standard of a real Gaudiya Vaishnava guru who delivers their dependence. See? What is the standard? Well, the standard is in there. Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's so many simple explanations for the laymen or for the big sannyasis to hear. Usually the layman will understand before a big sannyasi that is blinded by name and fame and wants to be a big cheese. Okay? The layman may not have that anartha, which is a blinding force. It's what called Raghunath Das said is donkey urine. Donkey urine is name and fame. See? So a simple layman may not have that and be easier for him to go into the kingdom of God first. Depends. Okay? Forgot what my point was. We're driving that. Yeah. So we'll start reading. If you remember the point I had, I was driving at a point there. Sometimes it kind of goes. It'll come back. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, 6th chapter, verse 1. Shukade Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Jesus. Om Agya Timurandasya. Ganan Gana Salakya Chakshur Milatamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shukadeva Goswami said, my dear king, while Nanda Maharaj was on the way home, he considered that what Vasudeva had said could not be false or useless. Oh, okay. A little bit of this is important to distinguish. Devananda Pandit was not a liberated soul because he did not have ecstatic devotion. And Lord Chaitanya said, you're not qualified to teach Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay? Because you do not have ecstatic devotion, devotional ecstasy. You see, Lord Chaitanya knew the standard, because the standard is even in Bhagavad Gita. To those who worship me with loving ecstasy, I give them the right understanding. That's your Bhagavatam teacher. That's your teacher of true transcendental knowledge. Only they know, no one else knows, really the essence. Devananda Pandit was a perfect Brahmin. He was celibate, he followed the rules, he gave Bhagavatam class, he was austere and actually humble pie, very humble, seemingly, or at a certain level of humility within the mode of goodness. But he wasn't humble enough where he would welcome Srivas, an ecstatic devotee, and threw him out. You see, you're judged by your deeds, man. And Lord Chaitanya said, what is this? You're acting as a Bhagavatam teacher. You know, Bhagavatam is the book incarnation of Krishna. This is Lord Chaitanya. Just tell him what he said. Tell you what he said. This book is the book incarnation of Krishna. So why aren't you acting like a devotee Bhagavat? See, you can't, because you have no ecstatic devotion. See, you showed that you are not up to the standard, and you threw out Srivas Thakur out of your class because he had devotional symptoms. How many people want to throw Gaurahari Dasa out of the Vaishnava line? Huh? Just because of the same thing. See? Because of ecstatic symptoms. They don't understand it, and they're Pukka Brahmins off, sannyasis, gurus. I had one of the biggest ones in ISKCON say, Gaurahari Das, you're not in line, even though Prabhupada said, you act as guru, and Krishna came down and told my second disciple that you're getting my darshan because of your guru. And this one who supposedly represents ISKCON said, Gaurahari Das, or to my disciple, you leave him because he's not qualified. See? I went for it. I did, I was really oh wow, is this really happening? Anyway, I learned a lot from these things here. And I say, hey man, now I'm looking at the book. Hey man, there's the standard. There's the order I got from Prabhupada. There's the blessing from Krishna. And here's the standard in the book, worship the Lord in loving ecstasy like Srivas Thakur. And the Devananda Pandits want to throw you out of their, they won't even let you give a class. They don't want you in their movements, nothing. They don't attract it because they need to be purified. Not you, not anybody that acts, who worships the Lord in ecstatic love and demonstrates it. And has the revelations and realizations better than anybody. Not them. It's the opposite. But people just don't know. It's hard to distinguish these things unless you hear it from a real empowered devotee, empowered guru. Then all of a sudden it's just easy to understand. Everything gets... You know how many times I have these Vaidhi Bhaktas like Janaki, like Rangaleka, like Meena, who have been around for 25, 40, 50 years in Vaidhi Bhakti, and they keep saying, my God, this is just getting more clear. This is so clear. And they're so happy because they were not this clear, not always getting more clear before, but they are now. Okay? Clear means you're getting cleared off of the speculation because you're hearing by the authorized speaker who follows right in the book Bhagavat. It says in chapter, first canto, second chapter, I think. Yeah, verse 18, 19, something like that. It says, by regular classes in Srimad Bhagavatam, okay, and by service to the pure devotee, all that's troublesome in the heart is removed, almost to nil. So what is troublesome? What is troublesome to the heart? Unclarity, ignorance, speculations, being taught the wrong thing, man, as the right thing. All that goes in there and makes you unclear. You hear from a bona fide guru who is worshiping the Lord in loving ecstasy, empowered by the real disciplic line. What happens? You start saying things like they do. My God, is this getting so clear? And these are devotees from 25 plus years in ISKCON, saying these things. Janaki chanting her rounds religiously for 16 rounds, religiously for 40 years. Saying, now I'm getting really clear. I wasn't so clear before. And I was ready to commit suicide, and I was just praying to Krishna. I want the truth, Lord. And now she's so happy, traveling around. What is that saying, man? See? That's the witness. And Meena also. Oh my God, I wouldn't have a clue without, I just tell you what she said. I wouldn't have a clue without you. I wouldn't have here's a lady doing Vaidhi Bhakti for 50 years. And she says, without a clue, I wouldn't know what to do. Shows you what kind of bhakti is being promoted here, huh? But, like these persons, we call them clothesline lines. You want a clothesline? Clothesline is, you say what this one guy said to me. He said, what? You're an acharya? You're a Srila? You're the next acharya? Listen to this. Dressed like that? See? Oh, you're looking for the clothesline. Oh, go over there. There's a lot of clotheslines over there, man. So many. There's at least 100 in ISKCON and everywhere else. A lot of clothes, fancy silk and, important persons. Oh, Prabhupada disciples. A lot of clotheslines. See? The clothes are really important. Or the clout, the reputation. Oh, it's the Prabhupada disciple. Oh, I'm going to get so much benefit. You know how many Prabhupada disciples unfriended me on Facebook? You know how many Narayan Maharaj devotees hate my preaching? Why? Because I tell the truth. I say things like, well, you're not a Bhakti Vedanta unless you have Bhakti first and then your Vedanta comes from Bhakti. They don't like that. That's a terrible thing to say. The truth? No, that is wrong. Is it wrong? Well, if Bhagavad Gita says to those who worship me with loving ecstasy, see, loving is the bhakti, man, right? To those who worship me with loving ecstasy, I give them the understanding. Oh, that's the Vedanta. And how do you know this Vedanta is coming from Bhakti or from somebody? You check it in a book. All of a sudden, my students, they go and they say, my God, that's in there. How come I didn't see it before? Well, we're just waking you up, man. And when your Bhakti gets stronger and stronger, your Vedanta will come from that Bhakti because it comes right in. You're in the real line. When you're in the real line, the verses come to life. In your life, you become the verse. You have to become a devotee Bhagavat to be a real guru. Otherwise, you're not quite real yet. You got to be that verse in worshiping the Lord in ecstatic love and have that knowledge and then give that knowledge to others. And then the Lord has to confirm it that those persons like Johan and so many others in our Sangha are awakening their bhakti and crying and laughing and all kinds of wonderful testimonies coming from them. You got to make it so clear that what you're doing is real and right and not cheating anybody, which we've done and are doing and will do it more. See? So therefore, you see, they don't like that statement. Because if they do, if they accept and say, my God, I never heard that. I never thought of that. If you would just say that, you know what? And you would say, give a little respect to our preaching, Krishna will take the sins away that are keeping you envious and jealous. See? You can't get rid of envy and jealousy until you submit to the truly empowered guru, the real acharya, the real spiritual master, and you say their knowledge is better than mine. I didn't know, I had the audacity to criticize him. Otherwise, you'll try every way in the book to get rid of envy and jealousy and all that, and you can't do it. See, it's a gift from the Lord. He just releases you by real sadhu sangha with a real to being submissive to her, his real empowered servant who is empowered to deliver people in this world. And that's right here. We proved it already. You could say, oh, Gaurahari, you're in such false ego. What does that have to do with anything? Or you're just not humble. What does that have to do with anything? If people are getting liberated and getting ecstatic devotion, isn't that what you're worried about? Or your speculation on what a devotee is supposed to be like in your non-liberated state, which you can't understand. Devotees have varieties of emotions. They're just like people in the world with all varieties of emotions. The only thing is their emotions destroy the Maya, destroy the illusion. It's like a thorn plucking out a thorn, a transcendental thorn plucking out these material thorns. It's so fun, man. I love this. It's fun to battle with Maya, man. And Maya is just illusion, man. That's it. And you just use the truth, man. You use these wonderful books. You'll all love it, man. Anybody staying here, you're gonna just love. It's like you're fighting Maya with a sword and one arm tied behind the back, and she's got 3 or 4 arms trying to beat you, and you're just going like this. And just like, she can't do nothing, man. She's trying to be into, that's what it gives me. They don't want that you smash their false ego. Well, nothing they can do. I mean, it's already being smashed. Illusion. It's not even their false ego. They've taken shelter of it. We're here to remove the shelter of the false ego because it's not a worthy shelter, man. This just causes misery. Okay. So while Nanda Maharaj was returning to Gokul, the same fierce Putana whom Kamsa had previously engaged to kill babies. See, Kamsa, he was like the leader, and he had all these members of his army and kings, king. He's like trying to be like a god, and he has his version of demigods. Just like the Lord has demigods working under his direction. Well, Kamsa was like trying to imitate Krishna and God, which everybody more or less does, and then he had his kings who were working under his direction. And so one great part of his army, or king or something, queen, was Putana. See? And she had the power to kill baby devotees. See, babies. That's why if you're fortunate, you get the association of those who a bona fide spiritual master who surpassed Putana and Kamsa and all of these demon obstacles, and they are connected with Krishna through unalloyed devotion. See, that protects him, purifies those who take shelter of them. It's like an umbrella for everybody under their shelter. Okay? So look what Krishna did for Vrindavan. When Indra sent all the hails and rains and all that stuff, and thunders and lightnings and floods and all that, they all took shelter of Krishna. See? Well, how are you going to do that now? Directly? Well, that was back then, and that was for those unalloyed devotees who could do that. No, you have to find the Lord who empowers the shelter, the umbrella, to hold up the umbrella, see, of the truth, of this bliss and this ecstasy. And whoever takes shelter under the umbrella of conclusive truth and conclusive understanding and conclusive knowledge, which the real spiritual master is a vigraha. See, they're an empowered vigraha of Sat, their eternal guru, Chit, eternal knowledge, and conclusive truth, see, and Ananda, this ecstatic bliss. So you take shelter under there. It's just like you were taking shelter under when Krishna was here. Because what other alternative do you have? He's unmanifest now, and to get a direct connection without the bhav and the devotion, you can't do it. Okay? Yeah. So those gurus will get you beyond Putana. They'll identify this is Putana. See? Is the Putana, what was her characteristics? Putana, she waltzed into Vrindavan. She looked like a devotee and very good at imitating it. Right? And even got through the real devotees. For a time, they were a little bit like, oh, I guess she's really, qualified. She's got her wormed her way in. See? But she couldn't kill regular devotees, but she could kill babies. See? The younger ones. The younger devotees are represented by those who are on the path of bhakti, more or less, Okay? They go to the shelter of those who haven't overcome Putana. Those are the false acharyas. Okay? They claim, well, yes, I'm your guru, worship me, and or I'll deliver you, or somebody else will deliver you. That person is more or less under the shelter of Putana. They can't liberate you or themselves. They're not liberated themselves. Okay? So that's one version. See, so the young devotees, and they go to those persons who can't help you very well because they still haven't surpassed that obstacle. They don't chant the Lord's name with ecstatic love as the scriptures teach. They can't. They're caught up in that obstacle. So sometimes devotees, they come to a bona fide guru, but they're not still weak, they still don't have full faith. And then the putanas out there, they criticize the guru, and they capture their devotees and they take it out because this is the weakness, they're not very strong. Okay? That happens sometimes here also. Okay? And sometimes they'll grab somebody and take them along, like one of those persons still caught up in putana and not truthful, just left, and then grabbed one of the disciples, took him along. See? There's demon type obstacles in them. So another demon who does that's inside these persons who leave, is not only the putanas there, you become like a Kalya lake, whoever drinks there is more or less poisoned. And also there's the demon that comes and looks like a devotee, comes into the sanghas like here, and they pretend to be a real devotee, but they grab the cowherd boys, or like see the demon that grab persons that were part of Krishna's thing, and they put them in a dark cave. See, the dark cave is the illusion. See, they take a person that was following Krishna and they put him in darkness, and you go in there, where'd they go? Well, they're sitting in a dark cave. That's another demon obstacle. Bhaktivedanta taught this. We're actually fluffing it out more, but Bhaktivedanta taught that these demons represent the obstacles to bhakti. So, Putana, whom had previously engaged to kill babies, was wandering about in the towns and cities and villages doing her nefarious duty. My dear king, whenever people are in any position perform their occupational duties of devotional service by chanting and hearing Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, there cannot be any danger from bad elements. Therefore, there is no need for anxiety about Gokul, while the Supreme Personality of Godhead was personally present. So, you see, the Lord was personally present there because they would naturally, from their heart, talk about Krishna, see Krishna, and the bhakti would awaken. And so they're not troubled by the demons. Maybe a little bit of trouble, but then Krishna takes care of it. Well, the way that's going to happen now, because Krishna and the devotees are unmanifest, you have to find a qualified guru, a bona fide guru, who has Krishna's shelter and the Vaishnava shelter. They're firmly fixed in that, getting the same shelter that those devotees had when Krishna was here. Those devotees depended on Krishna, and Krishna protected them in all cases. You have to find a devotee like that now, and they're very rare. And then you come under that shelter, and then you got Krishna's shelter, because Krishna's shelter is erected through their hearing and chanting. What is the difference of a devotee in Vrindavan 5,000 years ago chanting Krishna's name, He's there seeing Krishna, hearing Krishna's pastimes, talking about Krishna, and sometimes they laughing and crying, choking the voice and all that. What is the difference of that bhakti from a person in 2018 using the mantra? The mantra is non-different from the same Krishna there. They've realized. And they're chanting Hare Krishna and all these things, and their heart is melting like the residents of Vrindavan. That's the real guru, man. That makes sense? You got to find the real associate of Krishna, real associate of Lord Chaitanya. Then everything becomes as it is. You come right in line. See? And if you're in line, that means you're acting as a disciple, a real disciple, because you're in the line with a real guru. And then very soon you're going to get the fruit of ecstatic devotion. The only reason why we don't see more ecstatic devotion is, well, we got Prabhupada's book. See? But you need the devotee Bhagavat absorbed in the mellows of devotion to complete the formula. And the whole problem is we don't lack the qualified devotee Bhagavats. See, by the action of the book Bhagavat and the devotee Bhagavat, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 1, verse 98 through 100. By the action of the book Bhagavat, we got that. And the devotee Bhagavat, see, absorbed in the mellows of devotion. These mellows of devotion are instilled in the heart of those who come to those devotees and hear the book Bhagavat from them. In this life, you can get this bhakti. Sometimes within a year, we have people even within less than a year get this bhakti. So you tell me, is there a better path or a more real path in this planet now? I don't see anything like this, getting such results. How can you fail if you understand this point? How can you be illusioned if you understand and you have faith in the book Bhagavat, and the devotee Bhagavat just points out the exact meaning and saying of that verse? And you take shelter of the devotee Bhagavat and the book Bhagavat because it's the same, then the formula is you'll get Krishna because you'll get ecstatic devotion. See? But the whole problem is people have the book Bhagavat, but they don't have a devotee Bhagavat with the qualification of being an unalloyed devotee. High standard, huh? Well, when it's fulfilled, then you see the results. Like here. Okay, that'll be part one. I need to take a little